Well, folks, a lot has happened in the few weeks since my last video. For those of you who don't know, I am making a video game price checking app and documenting the process. If you haven't heard about that, go back and watch my last video, or you will be very confused for this one. That was filmed in early May. Today it is June 1st, and I have researched, vetted, and hired 2 companies. I said I wanted to do 3 things before my next video. I've done 2 of them. I hired a development firm to build the thing, and I hired a marketing company to help me with branding, logo, naming, all that stuff. I haven't come up with a name yet, but I have a meeting in 5 or 6 days with the marketing folks to hopefully nail down a name, which I really need to do because I need to use that to get a domain for the app team. But I wanted to give you guys an update on how the heck I went about doing that. To lay the groundwork, in my very tentative, very inexperienced estimation, was planning on this thing costing somewhere in the neighborhood of like $15,000-ish. In my head, I had budgeted around $10,000 for the development of the app itself. Literally the only development experience I've had, not doing it myself, but hiring someone, was I was trying to get an extension done for the Discord server that would basically allow us to track restocks for popular products like on GameStop, like the retro games or like 3DSs or whatever's hot, like basically let us know when it's back in stock. Turned out that feature, nobody really cared. It ended up being kind of useless. So I threw away like $2,000+ on that. But I was like, okay, if that feature, if that like Discord plugin basically costs $2,000, a full app that is supported on like Android and iOS and probably has a desktop component is probably going to be significantly more. So my general ballpark was like $10K. And then I was like, well, I've never hired a marketing team before. Or a marketing person. I would assume that, this is a fairly comprehensive package that I'm looking for, maybe like $5,000. Totally pulled that number out of my head, and I was like, okay, if it's somewhere in the $15K range for development of building this thing, that seems about right. Maybe it'll be higher, maybe it'll be lower. I really don't know. That was where my head was at going in. So I started asking around, just like, people that I know in the area. Do you know any people that build apps? Because one thing that I learned from building that Discord thing, I literally found somebody on Fiverr. The first time was an absolute disaster, lost $500. The second person that I found luckily was more reliable, but what I learned was communicating with both of them was pretty tough. I really didn't like that, and I wanted, if at all possible, to be able to look into the eyeballs of the person building this thing and have an actual person on the other end that I can shake their hand and they feel bad if they're not doing a very good job. I think that's a benefit as well. But I did know that would come with being more expensive because we're here in the US. People are more expensive here. Anyways, I got referred to this company in town from a dude in my small group who knows someone who works there. And so I met with them and told them what I'm looking to do, a software development company, and they seemed like pretty excited and like very competent dudes. They, are in a cool like techie office, the kind of thing that you would want to experience. I don't know, I went downtown and they showed me around the space and stuff like that, and I said, okay, assuming that the price is in the right range, I'm feeling pretty comfortable with these guys and pretty confident with the decision of going with them. Again, I'm a doofus. I don't know enough about technology to really say like, do you know, like, what's your experience with this coding language? I think it really is about like looking at the companies they've worked for before and their previous work and saying, honestly, that looks pretty good. If mine looks like that, then cool. They also had a bunch of really good references. But anyway, they ended up sending me a quote for between $6,000 and $7,000 to get the version 1 of this thing built. Now, that's not including the bundle calculation feature, like basically being able to create batches or like collections of games and then select a percentage and figure out what you should pay for a lot of games. I didn't include that in version 1. I think that's going to come later because I want to kind of lay the foundation first. But I heard that number and I was like, that seems pretty reasonable. Granted, they do bill hourly, that was just their best estimation. They said some parts might take longer, some parts might take shorter. I'm kind of expecting that it'll be more expensive than they're originally estimating, because that's just normally how stuff goes, whether it's construction or like anytime you're building something, stuff goes wrong. That's what I'm assuming. But as a starting rate, at least right now, I'm pretty happy with it. I'll let you guys know if it ends up being significantly more. I'll let you know the final cost either way. But so far, I'm tentatively optimistic. They seem highly competent and fairly reasonably priced, so we'll see. We'll see how things progress. Now, the marketing firm, I actually interviewed three different potential contractors. All of them based either here or in Louisville, still in Kentucky. The first one was just this dude that I had like a brief. I found all of these people just by Googling Lexington Marketing Agency. The first guy was this dude who I had a quick Skype meeting with, and he recommended, to start out with like $1,000 10-hour package consultation thing to kind of figure out like what exactly I needed and what to, start the process of building something. But I looked at all of his like websites that he'd done in the past. And they didn't look good. There was like a website that he'd built for like a Santa contractor, like for him to find work going to malls and stuff. And it had all this fake snow and didn't look very good. And so I was like, okay, if I can't point to your previous work and say I would be happy if my thing looked like that, then I think I'm gonna pass. The next one I talked to was one called Bullhorn Creative that apparently is pretty well known. They've like won awards and stuff. And I shot them an email, told them what I'm looking for, and they said our ideal client has a minimum budget of $50,000 to start out. And I was like, oh, that's probably not me. So I was like, hey, I'm, my budget's significantly less. Here's all the things that I'm looking to get done. And they were like, well, maybe you could pick a thing or two off of that list, and we could help you with it, like maybe just a logo or maybe just messaging, and we could work within that budget. I was like, I guess maybe they said that they specialize in working with startups, but it must be like techie. Granted, this is tech also, but like, Silicon Valley venture capital kind of tech startups that they're trying to work with, because I don't get $50K to start out. So this last company that I reached out to actually was the recommendation of the software team that I worked with. I said, hey, do you know any marketing people? They were like, yes, let's get you in touch with Bolt here in town. I said, okay. Had a brief, video call meeting with them, and they ended up quoting me $11,000 for branding, like fonts, logo design, messaging, naming, and what was the last one? Oh, like miscellaneous assets. So I think they'll make three things. I think one of them is going to be like a mock-up of the layout to send to the development team, and then also they'll do like a business card and a banner or whatever three things I'm looking for. And I was like, that's definitely more than I was originally expecting. But they did come pretty highly recommended, and the work that they've done in the past, like I recognized multiple businesses from here around town, and they all have really good branding. Like they look really clean. So I thought to myself, is it worth it? Should I get like more estimates? Should I try to find the cheapest option? And ultimately where I'm at right now is like, if their work turns out as good as their previous stuff has, I'm kind of fine with it. Like, I'm willing to spend more than I originally anticipated. One, because I'm hopefully going to be saving on the development side. And two, because I'd rather just have a really solid foundation to build this thing on. So I bit the bullet. It's half up front and half once the work is done. So at this point of filming this video, I've spent in the neighborhood of like $9,000 on this thing. And the process is underway with both. I went to go meet with the marketing team. So the development team was primarily two guys who are going to be kind of running point on it. The marketing team was like 3 or 4. And it's like a 12-week process to get all this stuff hammered out. And then, when I realized that, I started to kind of think, okay, if it's like 3 or 4 people that are designating at least part of every week for 12 weeks to this project, that price tag kind of starts to make a little bit more sense. But ultimately, again, the proof is going to be in the pudding of whether or not that larger price tag than I was expecting is worth it. If any of you guys like have actual more official businesses than I do and have experience hiring teams, you can let me know if I'm like getting ripped off or not. I would say at this point in the process, I'm feeling pretty good about the hires that I've made. And the fun part's going to be in 5 days, I told you, I have a meeting scheduled with the marketing team to start to hear pitches on names. I think they'll bring me like a few different ones. And, I'll let you guys know what they were and what I ended up going with. And then along the way, they're also going to be bringing to me like different kind of design packages of like, okay, they'll submit basically like mood boards. I think 3 of them of like, okay, we could go this direction with the app, and this is like a retro arcade theme, and it has this colors and these fonts. But this one over here is more of sort of like a traditional. It's got a bunch of like serif fonts, and it's kind of like refined and sends a different kind of message about like integrity and blah blah blah. Anyways, and I'm gonna be able to see those and also show you guys and let you know like why I picked what I did. I'm still really excited about this process. It's definitely going to cost a little bit more than my completely bogus estimations. But I wanted to give you guys that update and say in the next video you can expect some talk about naming, and then from there I guess like logo design, and maybe I'll have some like progress updates from the tech guys as well. That's all I have to say for this one.